Hi, my name is Barbara Allan. I am author of the book Conquering Arthritis. It's been the #1 best-selling arthritis book on Amazon.com for the last 9 years. Today I want to talk about making apple crisp. I'd like to demonstrate that. And I'm going to make a gluten-free version, and just for fun I'll be making it in my sun oven, although it will also work in a conventional oven, and I'll give those instructions as well. So we start with apples. About 3 pounds is a nice amount. I've got 9 apples here that are about that amount. So how you slice your apples doesn't matter so much. I've got a coring tool that will slice it, but sometimes it's just a lot quicker to go through and slice. Since a lot of my clients have arthritis, this isn't something you could do. A lot of times the coring tool will work better, and we can demonstrate that very briefly in a minute, or you can get somebody else in your household to do this part. So this is for everyone who has arthritis, and because it often makes it hard to close your hands and use a knife, this is an alternate way to peel and core and slice apples. It's a very cool little machine. So you can just push on this lever and pull back. You will have to have enough grip strength to be able to push the apple onto the prongs. It's not real hard. And then in whatever way, which you can still do with an open hand, you just turn the lever, and this part peels, and this part's going to core. So when it's come through, you've got an apple that's been sliced and cored, and just with a single knife chop you can then have very nice apple slices. Once you've cut up your apples, and here I'm using a black thin tan. It's good for solar ovens because it absorbs the heat. I've just filled up my pan with apples. Then it's time to make the crust. And you can use any type of flour you would like that's gluten-free. I often use oatmeal flour, and I just put oatmeal in my blender, and then that'll make the flour because it's soft. Today I'm going to use sorghum flour, and part of why is it's already very crumbly, so it will make a very nice crisp topping. So you can measure it if you want. This is a very forgiving recipe though, so I'm just going to put about 1 cup of the sorghum flour. I'm using sea salt. Many people with arthritis have food sensitivities, and if you use sea salt, then you avoid the exposure to the dextrose that's added to table salt. So sea salt is good, just to taste. And if you want to use sweetener, you can. If you have a problem with sweetener, you can leave this out. Today I'm going to use a little bit of raw blue agave. Even if it says organic, if it doesn't say raw, it's not a particularly healthy sweetener because the heat that's used to make regular agave syrup makes it have a very high fructose content, which isn't very good for blood sugar control, despite the fact that fructose immediately doesn't raise your blood sugar. It still messes up your glucose metabolism. So again, I'm the type of cook that doesn't measure a lot. I just put in a little bit to taste. So I put maybe 1/4 cup in. So now before I add, olive oil is what I'll be using today. Before I add the oil, I'll just mix the salt and the agave sweetener in a little bit. And then we want enough oil to make a crumbly crust. So again, use whatever oil is healthy for you. Olive oil is a particularly healthy oil, but you need to make sure if you have food sensitivities that you're not reacting to any of the ingredients. So if you're one of my clients and you've worked with me with testing to know what your sensitivities are, just use any one of your safe oils. That might be sunflower, that might be safflower, that might be canola oil, it might be olive oil, it might be coconut oil. It could be many, many different oils, but use the one that's safe for you. And the idea with making the crumbly crust is just to add enough oil where it all looks kind of damp. So there we have a nice crust. It smells really good. I can smell the olive oil coming up. And if you were going to cook this in a conventional oven, whatever pan you were using, I would suggest lining it with just a little bit of the olive oil, because there's not an issue with things burning in a solar oven because the heat is a little bit lower. I just put the apples straight in. And if you don't have a problem with cinnamon or nutmeg or other spices, you can do that, but I'm trying to demonstrate very simple versions of recipes for this recipe series for people with food sensitivities, so that you can eat as simply as possible and not worry about having recipes that really only work if you have all the very complex ingredient set. So then I just spread the dough out a little bit. This is clumped together nicely enough where it spreads well with my fingers. And if you're baking this in a conventional oven, a good temperature is 375 for about 1 hour. I recommend cooking it with the lid on so that all the juices are conserved. I'll be putting a lid on and putting it in my solar oven in just a minute. And on a sunny day like today, because it's around noon right now, it'll be very easy to get the solar oven up to about 300 degrees or 325. And I'll probably let it go about 2 hours. With the solar oven, you can let things go longer because they don't burn. You don't really have to attend them very much. And I like my apples really well cooked. So, I'll meet you out at the solar oven. So here's my solar oven. It's called a sun oven. It's a commercially made one. I love it. I use it several times a week. It's got a lever. It's very hot in there, actually. I shouldn't have put my hand on that. So that as you adjust the angle of the oven to adjust to the angle of the sun, things stay level. So it's all pretty simple. The sun reflects the heat in. It's insulated, and I'll probably come out about every half hour and adjust it so it's still optimized towards the sun. And about 2 hours, we'll have a little taste testing. So it's been a little over 2 hours. Right now the sun oven is at about 325 degrees. Even the little tangs to hold down the glass are hot. So it's good when you're using a solar oven to realize it really is a real oven. You can burn yourself on it if you're not careful. There's just a wonderful baked apple smell wafting out. Now we'll go in the kitchen and give it a taste test. Smells really good. We've got the apples really nicely baked and the toppings crisp, and now let's give it a taste. The apples are really soft and sweet and tasty. I use gala apples, but whatever smells good to me that's in season is usually what I use. The crust is very crumbly. Oh, it's just perfect. Sorghum makes a really nice apple crisp crust. Usually what I use is oats, which I also love, but I think this may become a